I'm gluten-free Gigi, and I'm living gluten, dairy, soy, and nut-free. I understand how difficult it can be to enjoy the foods you love on a special diet. That's why I'm making these videos, to show you how simple and affordable, healthy, allergy-free living can be. Come join me in the kitchen. We are making a fantastic dessert recipe. It's vegan pumpkin custard. You'll love these. Let me show you how I prepped. We've got our oven on 350 degrees and I'm using a small ramekin. These are about 4 ounces. You can make this in a single 8x8 dish if you don't have the ramekins. I like it in the individual dishes. I think it turns out really festive and pretty for the holiday table. I've lightly sprayed these with cooking spray and they're on a baking sheet just in case we have any spillage. It's easy to get them in and out of the oven that way too. Simple recipe, quite a few ingredients, but we're putting everything in one bowl and stirring. So let's get started. I have egg replacer. We are using, not according to package directions, but I have 1 tablespoon of the egg replacer powder. You know I use the Energy brand, and I've put the 1 tablespoon of powder in a 1/4 cup of warm water, and I've whisked that and let it sit at room temperature for just about 10 minutes to get thick. So we have that. I'm going to add in here a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we don't really have a particular order we need to add these today, so they're all going to get whisked together. I have a 1/2 cup of pure maple syrup, 2 tablespoons of Earth Balance. You know we use the soy-free. I have a 1/2 cup of So Delicious coconut milk creamer. That's original flavor. You can use the regular coconut milk if you like, or rice milk will work. I have a 1/2 cup of beautiful Jardel pumpkin that I roasted that's pureed, and you can see it's not completely pureed. There's a little bits, you know, pieces here and there, and that's fine. That's how I like mine. You can just process it in the food processor or blender or mash it with a fork. I used a fork. You can also use canned pumpkin there. Don't use the pumpkin pie filling. Make sure you get pure pumpkin. So let's go with our dry ingredients now. I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And we want about a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. And we'll use an 1/8 teaspoon of mace, and you can substitute nutmeg there if you like. I want to put a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. This will give a little leavening action along with our egg replacer. So these will rise up just a bit. And in this container I have 2 tablespoons of potato starch and I have 2 tablespoons of white rice flour. Instead of potato starch, you could also use cornstarch there. Either will work. So that's a 1/4 cup of a flour blend also if you have a gluten-free flour blend that you like to use. So whisk this together. And just make sure you've got all the dry ingredients blended, no lumps in there. And I like to use a ladle to get this over into the ramekins. It can get a little messy, but we'll give it a try. So we want to fill these not quite up to the top. If you drip on the pan there like I just did, before you put them in the oven, sometimes you can get a paper towel and just wipe around the pan so that it doesn't burn when you're cooking it. We'll cook these at 350 for about 20 minutes, maybe 25. We'll come back at 20 and we'll have a look. Just make sure you divide this evenly. You could measure it. You know I don't measure. get the bowl out of the way. So we're going to pop these into the oven. And in 20 minutes, I'll see you right back here. And we'll see how our pumpkin custard looks. It's time to check on our pumpkin custards. It's been 20 minutes at 350. They look fantastic. Let me show you what to look for. Let's bring these out of the oven. Be careful with that. Look how pretty they are. Okay, a couple things. Let's have a look. First of all, notice how dry they appear on top. Remember, we put them in. They're liquid and very shiny. They're very dry now. These are hot, but you can run your finger right across the top. They're nice and even, nice and dry. Look at this. They kind of sponge back away from the ramekin. Very hot. But that's what you're looking for. You don't really want any browning on these. If you wanted to broil the tops and you had the broiler safe ramekins like these, that would be okay. I prefer to leave them this way. They're done. They need to sit right here, room temperature, for about 10 to 15 minutes before we dig in. You come back, I'll show you what they look like inside. It's been 10 minutes. Our pumpkin custards have cooled just slightly. You want to serve these warm, but come in and have a look. How nice and creamy they are right in the center. You still have this nice sort of firm top on them, and inside they just melt in your mouth. I know you'll love these. Your vegan friends will love these. And really, nobody will know they're vegan or gluten-free. They'll be a hit with everyone at your holiday table. Serve them up with my dairy-free whipped cream, and they'll be fantastic.